Two friends, same salary, same savings, same city. 20 years later, one of them is financially free. The other one is exhausted and worth almost the same amount. This is the story nobody tells you about real estate versus the stock market. And the numbers at the end are going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew. Meet Daniel and Chris. Same age, same city, same salary, about $55,000 a year. They both spent years saving, and now they each have $50,000 ready to invest. But they make completely different decisions, and that single decision will shape their entire financial future. Daniel has always believed in real estate. He likes the idea of owning something physical, something he can see, touch, and control. So he takes his $50,000 and uses it as a 20% down payment on a $250,000 rental property, a simple 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. He locks in a 30-year mortgage at around 7%, which puts his monthly payment at about $1,330. Not long after, he finds a tenant willing to pay $1,800 a month. On paper, that's $470 in profit every single month. Daniel feels like a genius. Chris, on the other hand, keeps things simple. He doesn't want tenants. He doesn't want debt. He doesn't want phone calls at midnight. So he takes his $50,000 and puts it into a total stock market index fund. No leverage, no real estate, no complexity. He sets up an automatic contribution of $300 every month. Then he goes back to his life and doesn't think about it again. His coworkers ask what he's investing in. He says, index funds. They nod politely and change the subject. Nobody's impressed. At the start, it doesn't even feel close. Daniel has a house, a tenant, and a story he can tell at dinner. Chris just has a number on a screen and a confirmation email. During the first few years, Daniel feels like he's winning. Every month, rent hits his account. He drives past his property sometimes and thinks, I own that. He's building equity with every mortgage payment. He's getting tax deductions on mortgage interest and depreciation. He's watching comparable homes in the neighborhood slowly rise in value. Everything about it feels real, tangible, and smart. Chris has a very different experience. He logs into his account once a quarter, up a little, down a little, then up again. After year one, his $50,000 becomes about $55,000. After year two, maybe $60,000 to $61,000. Nothing exciting. Nothing he can point to from his car window. Just a number on a screen, slowly getting bigger. Daniel's friends ask him about the property. Chris's friends don't ask him about anything. On paper, on feeling, on every social level, Daniel is winning by a mile. But after a few years, reality starts to show up for Daniel. Because that $470 per month was never the full story. Property taxes take about $3,000 a year. Insurance adds another $1,500. Then come the unexpected costs. A water heater breaks, $1,200. A section of the roof starts leaking, $2,800. The property sits empty for a month between tenants. No rent coming in. But the mortgage is still due. Cleaning fees, relisting fees, weekends spent showing the unit to strangers. Then one night at 2 a.m., Daniel's phone rings. The pipes burst. The tenant is furious. The repair is urgent. And Daniel is standing in his kitchen in the middle of the night, doing math in his head, realizing that this single phone call just wiped out 3 months of profit. This is the moment nobody shows you in the YouTube thumbnail. This is the moment the landlord dream meets the landlord reality. When you actually run the numbers after 3 years, things look very different. Daniel collected roughly $64,800 in rent. His mortgage payments totaled about $47,880. That's $16,920 in gross cash flow, which sounds great, until you subtract everything else. Property taxes, insurance, repairs, vacancy, time. His real net profit over 3 years? Somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. Not the $16,000 plus he imagined when he first ran the numbers on a napkin. And that doesn't include a single hour of his time. Chris hasn't changed anything. He invested his $50,000, added $300 a month, and left it alone. At an average annual return of around 10%, his portfolio is now sitting near $75,000 to $76,000. No stress, no phone calls, no 2 a.m. emergencies. But here's what Daniel still has working in his favor. Something Chris can't easily replicate. Leverage. Daniel used $50,000 to control a $250,000 asset. That's 5-to-1 leverage, and it's powerful. His property has appreciated around 3 to 4% per year and is now worth somewhere between $270,000 and $280,000. His equity, the gap between what the house is worth and what he still owes, has grown to roughly $55,000 to $65,000. That's real wealth, built partly using the bank's money, and it's the one advantage index fund investors simply can't replicate without taking on margin debt. By year 5, Daniel is deep in the reality of being a landlord. He's on his third tenant. He replaced the roof for $8,500. He dealt with a plumbing emergency that cost $1,400. He spent another month with the property sitting empty. He raised rent to $1,950, which helps. But his property taxes and insurance have gone up too. His actual cash-on-cash return, the money he pockets relative to what he put in, is sitting around 3% to 5% after all real expenses. Not bad, but not the 15% to 20% he was telling people about at the barbecue. Chris is still doing the same thing. Nothing. And that's exactly why his numbers are starting to change dramatically. By year 7, his portfolio is sitting somewhere between $135,000 and $150,000. He didn't pick stocks. He didn't time the market. He didn't do anything except not touch it. Compounding is starting to accelerate. The gains on his gains are now generating more new wealth each year than his original contributions. Compounding is boring for the first 5 years, and then it becomes something else entirely. By year 10, something interesting happens. They're surprisingly close. Daniel's property is now worth around $335,000 to $350,000. His remaining mortgage balance is about $166,000. That puts his equity at roughly $170,000 to $184,000. Over 10 years, after subtracting every real cost, mortgage interest, taxes, insurance, repairs, vacancy, capital expenditures, Daniel is out of pocket somewhere between $20,000 and $35,000 beyond his original down payment. Chris's portfolio, with consistent $300 monthly contributions and roughly 10% average annual returns, is sitting at approximately $165,000 to $180,000. He put in $50,000 up front, plus $36,000 in contributions. $86,000 total invested. The rest, pure compound growth. And he spent exactly 0 weekends fixing anything. At year 10, Daniel might be slightly ahead thanks to leverage. But here's what those numbers don't show. Daniel spent hundreds of hours managing his property. He took on hundreds of thousands in debt. He concentrated his entire investment into a single asset in a single zip code. Chris diversified across thousands of companies and never lost a single night of sleep. Now let's be honest about both sides, because neither strategy is perfect. If you were in the stock market with $150,000 saved in early 2008, you watched it become $95,000 in a matter of months. Not a number on a screen. Real money. Gone. Temporarily, but gone. And the data is brutal. Most retail investors panic sell at exactly the wrong moment. They lock in the loss at the bottom, then buy back in after the recovery. They do the opposite of what they should, every single time. Real estate has a different kind of risk. It's not a number dropping on a screen. It's a tenant who stops paying and knows the eviction process can take 4 to 6 months. It's a $9,000 HVAC replacement in August that you cannot postpone. It's your wealth locked inside a single asset in a single zip code that you cannot sell in 48 hours if you need the money. It's a part-time job you didn't sign up for, with no guaranteed hourly rate. Now fast forward to year 20. Daniel's property is worth somewhere between $450,000 and $500,000. His mortgage is either fully paid off or nearly there. After 20 years of maintenance, repairs, turnover, taxes, insurance, and at least one major renovation, his total net profit from cash flow is somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000 above what he spent. His total net worth from the investment, equity plus cash flow, sits between $400,000 and $500,000. Chris's portfolio, with $300 monthly contributions and consistent compounding at 10% average annual return, is worth approximately $420,000 to $460,000. Total contributions over 20 years, $122,000. The other $300,000 plus? Pure compounding. No debt, no tenants, no 2 a.m. phone calls about broken pipes. They end up in almost exactly the same place. But the journey couldn't have been more different. Daniel worked for his wealth. Chris let time work for him. And here's the part that changes everything. If Chris had simply increased his monthly contribution by $200, bringing it from $300 to $500 a month, his portfolio at year 20 would be closer to $550,000 to $600,000. That's the multiplier effect of compounding. In real estate, increasing your investment usually means buying another property, taking on another mortgage, and doubling your workload. In the stock market, it means adjusting one number in your brokerage account. Here's the real question nobody asks. It's not which investment is better. It's what are you actually buying with your money? Daniel bought an asset, but he also bought a second job he never signed up for. Chris bought time, and compounding did the rest. They ended up in almost the same place financially, but only one of them got there without sacrificing his nights, his weekends, and his peace of mind. The best investment isn't real estate. It isn't stocks. It's the one you understand well enough and believe in deeply enough to stick with for 20 years without blinking. Because in the end, the gap between Daniel and Chris wasn't created by the market. It was created by one decision, made once, held consistently. So now I want to know, if you had $50,000 today, would you invest like Daniel or like Chris? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who's about to make this decision, send them this video. It might change the way they think about money forever.